You are listening to Rags to Resale, the podcast for career resellers or anyone who wants to amp up their online resale business the right way. Now here's your Posh Pro expert, Megan Morris.
2022 was a big and transformational year for Poshmark with the emergence of Posh Show Lives. We were among a very small group of beta testers for the lives, and it was the Wild West.
Really cute. See the ruching at the bottom?
No bundling for shipping, no bookmarking, no precedents, and very few rules and regulations. There was an emergence of some, shall we say, heavy hitters, like the Posh Kings, who were already gaining fame on Whatnot and other platforms, among others.
Lauren Pluna is in the lead at $18.
People clamoring to join, either to get into the tray as a seller or to grab a pair of Lululemons for crazy low starts. Regular Poshers complain of long wait lists to become a live seller and a huge drop-off in the algorithm for regular closet traffic. So the question remains, is Posh Shows a good thing or a Posh fad? It's February 8th, 2023, and this is our special edition of Rags to Resale. Our series, Posh Famous, takes a look at the cream of the crop, those that rise to the top with the most viewers in their shows. And we ask how and why are these people so Posh Famous? Our first Posh Famous guest, Irka9, always with 70 to 100 buyers clamoring for her palette unboxings every morning. We caught up with her and her equally famous teenager helper on their vacay in Florida. Hey, Irka.
Are you outside? Are you somewhere warm?
Yeah, we're finishing up a vacation.
Oh,
We're on an island in Florida, yes.
oh my gosh. Lucky, lucky, lucky. We are in -2 degrees in Chicago. So very different
Oh.
situation. There's like,
Oh my God. I'm not looking forward to heading home to Ohio, not to this.
yeah, right. Okay. So what we're gonna so this is, and I don't know if you've ever seen or heard any of our other stuff, but we do a podcast called Rags to Resale, and we're doing a series called Posh Famous. And the idea is that these new Posh shows, you go in and you see the shows, and there's some with 2, and there's you or me with 80 to 100. How are you doing that? What is the secret to your success? You're fun, you have high energy, they just like our shows, and people are coming in every day trying to figure out how to get people to their shows. There's obvious things, as you're flipping through shows and trying to decide where you're going to shop today. Maybe it's just that you flip through and poor lighting, or there's too much clutter, or it's so there's all these different things that are factors in creating a show that people stay and shop. What is it? What do you think you did, just guessing, or what do you think you did very specifically that created that success for you?
Well, I think the things that you mentioned, like the clutter and the lighting and all those things, are the basics. Like, you have to have those basics. You have to have a pleasant atmosphere, kind of like a fun area, and you have to have those basics.
Yeah, it has to be pleasant to look at.
Right. It has to be pleasant to look at. Otherwise, they swipe out right away. So those are just expected, right? And then, of course, they want to see a show. Like, these live shows are called shows for a reason. So everybody, I feel like, that has like a little bit of a different edge, like, you have your background as marketing. People are like, oh, Megan, what does she have to say? Or, I have my teenager. Like, it doesn't have to be a gimmick, because it's really part of who you are and part of your, persona anyways. But it just like highlights your, capability and what they come to see. And then, of course, being consistent. Like, you can't be late to shows. You can't, you can't be like canceling shows and canceling orders and this and that. So just those basic business expectations have to be met. But then you also have to entertain them. I usually remind my regulars about my shows, or if I have something different, I'll put it on there. I started out writing down everybody's names. Like, if it was a call name and then they constantly shopped from me, I started calling them by their real name, and they really like that. Just like little things that keep 1 or 2 more people this show, 1 or 2 more people next show. And then you kind of have like that 20 or 30 people that are always in your show. And you'll also have like 20 or 30 people that are always in your show and they're always watching and they don't buy anything, but that's
Yeah.
okay. You know, that
Mhm.
it's just like you build yourself an audience that way. And I had a lady recently buy from me, and she's been. I mean, I've been running shows for maybe like 3 or 4 months, and she bought from me very recently. And she said, I thanked her for being a new buyer and or new watcher, and she's like, "Oh no, no, no! I watch you all the time. I just bought from you." So she was watching me for months, and she just recently bought from me. So I guess it's like consistency and those little
Also,
things,
what you have may, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I do need that, or
right?
or they've gotten a new job and they feel like they can spend more, or whatever it is. And then
Right.
people fall off too. I had a buyer that was consistently buying to the point where I was like, wow, she's just a zillionaire. She's just got unlimited funds. She just shops
Right.
crazily. And thank goodness for her, right? So, I take special care to talk to her all the time, and I give her extra things and all that stuff. And she sent me a long note saying, I am addicted to Posh Shows and I have to stop. Like, she actually sent me this note, like, I can't shop anymore. This is a huge problem. Like, she probably, I could imagine, like, she must just get 18 things in the mail a day. And, at a certain point, you're like, what am I doing? And there is an addictive element to this. I know that there are people that come in and they just enjoy my show for whatever reason, for whatever reason, they're asking about my kids. They're asking what's behind me. And you do realize there are lonely people out there. There are people that are just, for whatever reason, they're alone in their home, or they have, nothing to do that day, or whatever it is. And you're providing more than shopping. You're providing a friend, you're
Right.
providing someone to talk to, you're
The
providing
family.
a family, a crew, a sense of belonging. There's so much more potentially that we're offering people that you don't realize, and it's the same as a TV show. People get to know certain hosts, or, Kelly Ripa or whatever it is. And you have to be, there's that je ne sais quoi of what is it about you that makes them feel comfortable and happy and enjoying it, and I see in your shows, and I get comments in my shows, that this is my favorite show. I love it here. This is wonderful, and you realize that there's just more going on than just, okay, what do you have to sell? I want it. Now there's other people that are, and you have to have that balance of, I want to entertain these people, but there's the other people that just want to see
Want to
clothing,
buy. Yeah.
get it done. So I think what we do, and I think you do it well, is not easy. It's not an easy task, and it's not just about what they see visually. Then there's all of the background, the shipping, the cleanliness of the items, that all of that stuff, that if you don't deliver, then it's almost like a false persona that they perceive. So, and there has been some of those, if you miss, like if there's something dirty on something or you miss it, they're like, hey, you promised, there's more than just, you were a store that I bought from and I'm unhappy with my product. It's like, there's a, how dare you, or I
Yeah.
expect
Sense of
more of you.
responsibility.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Okay, so tell me about the beginnings of Posh Shows for you. So how was your before? Let's do the before Posh Shows and the afterlife of Posh Shows. What were you doing on Posh? How were you making money? Were you a successful Poshmark seller? And then what happened to you when Posh Shows became a thing?
So, in 2022, January 2022, I left my job to pursue this full time. Of course, I sell on other platforms too. I had about 300,000 followers on Poshmark at that time, and I was equally doing good business between Poshmark and eBay. And so with Posh, I was like, well, maybe I should try these Posh shows. I had the perception that everybody that was following me would get a notification that I went live. And so I'm thinking, I have 300,000 followers. I've been on Poshmark for 6 years. this is a good time. I didn't really realize that not everybody would be getting the notification, but the fact that I had a lot of followers kind of pushed me to like try out these shows. I'm like, oh, I can do it. And I had a friend that was like encouraging me, and she's like, you should do this. So I'm like, I'll just try it. It can't hurt. I didn't really realize. I mean, I always knew that Poshmark wanted a social selling platform, but I didn't realize to what level of social this part of the platform would be, right? Like we knew that the sharing in the Posh community was always like a big factor of why people are shopping on Posh, but this like took it to the next level. This took it to the next like 10 levels, because people are like really enjoying the social aspect. And I also feel like from Facebook comments and things like that, people are that are not doing shows by choice or because they have not been approved, they feel like they're missing out, because there's a lot of animosity for some reason towards successful Posh shows. But that's neither here
no,
or
I
there.
feel that too. It's true. Well, there's so there's this huge wait list, and I think there's a problem. There's a leveling off problem that not only the algorithm has, but that Poshmark has to weigh for the sellers that are already doing it, and for the weight of the algorithm. You just can't allow all of these people to flood in and all go live. It probably, I'm certain it couldn't handle the depth of it. So they have to do it in stages, as they've been doing. I was in the beta test, the very beginning of Posh Shows. I spoke at Posh Fest. I was one of the closet consultants down at Posh Fest. So there was the really earliest stages in, September of last year, where they did not yet bundle anything. We were having
I remember that. We were sitting there,
it was
bundling
really
for
miserable,
people.
And then the fear of them buying it and redoing all of that stuff. And not being able to, there were so many things. There were so many little glitches. Right. And so just traversing all of that while having this insane moment of we're the only ones. Like there were
Right.
very few shows. So, we're sitting here and I have a business that I'm running, that all of a sudden I'm going, okay, do we pivot away from our website and our Posh boxes and our courses? I have all these e-courses that we're trying to promote, and we just dropped absolutely everything and pivoted because we were making $12,000 a month.
Right.
I was like, whoa, wait, stop everything. But then you have this fear, and it's still with me every single solitary moment I turn on the show. Is anyone coming? Is this the one that nobody's going to show up to for whatever reason? Somebody else has a show, or, and it happened multiple times, as the algorithm moves and changes and they try to traverse this new landscape of this many people with this many shows. It happens where, for whatever reason, the algorithm's not hitting you that day. I did notice that for a while in November, December, you could see like first shows were getting all of the algorithm. There was like 150 people in a first show every time it was a first show.
Right. And now it's mixed. And you can see first shows that have 4 people in it, so you can see it just constantly them trying to tweak it, and then just the natural algorithm taking over in certain parts. So you just never know. Yesterday I had a toy show. There was consistently 8 people in it for like a half an hour. I was like, okay, you know what? Toys aren't my thing. They just don't come from toys for me. I've built an audience that wants clothes, and I shut down after half an hour. It was a silent show. I didn't feel well. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm not going to sell all these things for nothing. I got to go, guys, So, and also there's that expectation that there's going to be a zillion people in one of my shows, and then I'm literally embarrassed, like I gotta go. I don't want. You have a reputation to uphold, right?
That's right.
Your shows are big shows. Yeah, I was talking to my husband yesterday. And we always do this little getaway to Florida in January, but I've never had my income depend on being live in front of people. Usually, I have somebody ship for me when I'm at home, and I still have somebody ship for me from my regular stores, but I can't be doing lives on vacation. And I said to my husband, I'm like, do you think I'll be irrelevant when I get back?
Oh,
But that fear is real. It's
it
always
is.
sticking with you because occasionally, you had your toy show. I had a plus size show that didn't go very well.
Yeah.
So you have this fear is like, am I going to be irrelevant at
And
this
I'm
point in
done.
time?
Yeah.
Right. And we
Well,
did too. We pivoted. I was running a normal reseller life. I went out, I sourced, I listed 10 to 15 items a day. I used List Perfectly. I put it across 4 or 5 different platforms. I did all those things too that now stopped. And now my business looks very different.
yeah.
Everything that I bring into my house on Monday usually is out by the end of the week. There's no, inventory. There's no pictures. There's no this. There's no that. There's no measuring. There's a little bit of measuring, but it looks so different now. And I'm like, every day I'm like, did I make a mistake? Because if I have 2 or 3 bad shows, I'm going to have to go back to the business that's been on halt for a couple of months, or
Yeah.
not really on halt, but I definitely didn't give it my all like I have been. So it's still intense.
It's this constant monkey on your back. Like
Yeah.
you're beholden to that algorithm. You're completely beholden to that algorithm and what they deem important. I'll see a Poshmark commercial on TV and I'm like, uh-oh, because sometimes it's I sell all my stuff on Poshmark and it's great. And then other times it's I got this great thing on Poshmark. And I'm always happier when it's I got this great thing on Poshmark, because when it's I sold all my stuff on Poshmark, that Poshmark, for whatever reason, feels like it needs more sellers coming in, new fresh blood. And then I'm like, oh, the algorithm's going to change again. I just have this constant fear and worry that, I'm not there. There's nothing I can do. If they decide to put me on an island, on the algorithm island, for whatever reason, let's give new people a chance or whatever it is, there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. You're completely beholden to that algorithm and what you think creates that movement and energy. And it's ever changing. So you have to constantly be guessing and watching, and it's exhausting and it's worrisome. And that in the end, all you can do is sell as much as you can, because that the one thing Poshmark cares the most about is making money. So as long as you're feeding that beast, you can assume that you're going to be okay. So anyway, so the segment that we're launching today is called Posh Famous, because there's Insta famous, there's Twitter famous, there's people on these little apps all around the world,
Right.
that have become famous for whatever reason. And for whatever reason, Urka, 9 and teenager, you have risen to the top of the algorithm on Poshmark and you are Posh Famous. So and I know when we talked about this at first, you were like, no, Posh Kings is Posh Famous. This person's Posh Famous. But the truth of the matter is, when you're consistently making this kind of money and doing this well on an app, and people are coming back to you and are wanting to see you've gathered an audience worthy of being called Posh Famous. So we've deemed you, Urka, 9, Posh Famous. What do you and teenager? Yes, I deem you Posh Famous. What do you do every day before your Posh show? What do you do? What happens? What's your little routine? You get ready. What do you?
You can take it.
I typically get up about a half an hour early before the show, and she typically does her makeup and start her coffee, get all the lights turned on, and start adding the listings to the show. I probably wake up a little bit earlier because I'm always adding the last couple as the show's starting.
But at least it's consistent. What teenager gets up consistently, to come to a job?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think the biggest thing though is like making sure you have a product that people want, because you could be Posh Famous and you could have cute lighting and you could have cute this and that and gift cards, giveaways, but you have to have like somewhat of what people, you can't have like yesterday's goods.
Right.
So I think like the prep that really goes into it for me, and like you mentioned earlier, you have your reputation to uphold, so you want to provide like the good stuff. Of course, you can't be like putting out Lululemon new with tags every time, but you do want to make it interesting for the buyers. Put in, a special item here, a special item there. So
Yeah.
that's like my biggest thinking about that. And also we like really try to make sure that we kind of remember what styles or what sizes our regulars are, because if I'm out shopping or if I'm opening a palette and I see like, oh, this is an extra small business blazer, and I know who likes that business blazer, then I'm calling them out in the show, and then it
Yeah.
becomes all tied together, right? So
once you call somebody out on something.
right, and then they become more engaged, and even if they don't end up buying it, someone else is going to end up buying it because they're like, oh, the more people you're like involving, the higher chances of you selling is,
Right. Yep, exactly. So, okay, well, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about inventory. Where do you source? So you said you have your pallets. Where do you source your pallets from? Where do you get them?
I sourced them online. I had a friend that found like a good connection, and I started buying by the pound, and then I started buying new with tags. So that worked out well. I don't know if I want to keep investing that kind of money into the pallets, just because it does get expensive. But it was a good experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm going to go back to thrifting consistently for my shows or not. But I'm like definitely going to do that
Yeah.
at some point in time.
Yeah. So the thing I'm finding with pallets and then even with the bins and stuff is there's the cream off the top that sells immediately. And then I keep having this light's changing for me. I'm just going to move a little bit.
Yeah. That's always.
Yeah. The, that stuff that just doesn't move, for whatever reason is starting to clog up over here. So then I try to have like a clearance sale, or I try to have, something to move that stuff.
Or bundle.
And yeah, and it doesn't seem, I'm starting to get this glut of stuff, so, and so just like you were saying yesterday, I ended up, because I was going to do a silent with the toy show, I ended up listing a bunch of toys and items that I know, will do well. Some American Girl, like a stove or whatever. I've listed that stuff for more money. And it got me thinking that I do need to get back into that pile of stuff and list it, because those things like a certain size jean or, a certain coat or, something with a particular graphic on it is going to sell to someone specific, that's out there in the world that may be just Google searching it and my thing will come up, versus, having the same people coming and needing that same type of stuff that they buy. So that stuff is still valuable. It's just not valuable to the people that I've attracted to my show day in, day out. So I need to back up, go back, like you're saying, 3 or 4 months ago and go, okay, wait a second. I was making, $3,000 or $4,000 a month just doing that listing, and I'm not doing that anymore. So in theory, if I do that and this, if I somehow make I pick a day and I'm listing again and getting my closet, just maybe go up a notch, not list everything that I can sell in a show, but taking those things that are more special or more specialized, say, certain shoe sizes, certain, like I found a Hello Kitty scrub shirt, for example. That's for a doctor or a nurse that works in pediatrics. So that thing needs to be listed because someone might be looking for that, but it's not going to be a thing that sells in the show. So we're going to take a step back. I think that now we've taken this 3 or 4 month, just run at the wall Posh shows. We have to now take a step back and realize that we cannot and should not put our business, our livelihood in the hands of this algorithm so completely. We have to take a step back and go, okay, we have to put some guardrails up here to make sure that our business survives whatever happens in the next 3 or 4 months. And that's why we started talking about doing like Posh Famous, talking these things out with other people, like what are you doing? How are you riding this wave? And we could come back to this in 3 or 4 months and go, okay, now what's happened? Now what's going on? How are we functioning now? And it doesn't only help all of us that are in it right now, but it's going to help people 3 or 4 months down the road that are just getting into it to stop, not step in those pitfalls that we did, and it is sort of our way of helping those people that are sitting there mad and jealous. Why am I not allowed to do it? Well, you will be. And when you do it, it won't be as hard for you. We paved the path. It was really hard for us, and some of you will fail just because you're never going to have that thing, whatever it is, like for you, you're little and petite. I mean, me too. I can fit almost anything. So you put on that little bodysuit and you try stuff on, and that's really helpful to people. You have a nice clean palette. It's white in the background. You've just got that hook. It's just it's easy, it's simple, and it works. You've got teenager, you're calling him out all the time. People love that you have someone. And I feel like with my husband too, on Tuesday nights when my husband's there, they're like, he's so cute, you're so great, you have such a nice son, that's so cool that you work together. And and it just, that element of letting them into your life a little bit and just letting them see is that thing that they feel like they're a part of it that you can't get from a TV. You can't watch a show on television and Anderson Cooper talk back. That doesn't happen,
Yeah, it makes it a show for real. Yeah. Going back to what you said, I'm not a super confident person, so I was not going to take all my eggs and put it in the Poshmark basket. So I told myself, I'm like, you're gonna list in your stores 20 items a week, no matter what. I used to list a lot more, right? My goal was 70 to 100 every week, depending on what we had going on. But I was like at least 20, no matter what. So I started Posh Shows, I think, in the middle of November. And so Christmas was coming up. This is a big time for resellers, right? But I'm still listing. Like, I was feeling my way around with these shows, but I'm like, no, I'm still going to list in my stores. And I really think that helped me through the Christmas season. So I'm still listing 20 items a day. However, those items have changed because I am like you now, realizing that Hello Kitty scrubs is not going to sell on. I ordered some athletic clearance. And so they were plus size clearance. I ran a plus size show and I only had somebody ask for 4X. I sold these shorts for $5. The exact same pair of shorts, because I had multiples of them, sold for $38 on another platform to another buyer. So I realized, I'm like, there's only one 4X shopper in my show. Nobody else is gonna. So why am I putting some of these, unique items in my shows when I'm only going to have one shopper? So now when I'm picking something up or when I'm like going through this stuff, I'm thinking, am I going to have like 2 or 3 people bid on it? Because if I don't have 2 or 3 people bid on it, then, it's going to be like now I do $8 starts. So now it's only going to be an $8 item. And sometimes that's fine. Sometimes it's not a big deal. But sometimes you're like, I definitely know this vintage sweater or this Hello Kitty scrubs or these Athleta oversized shorts, someone is going to pay premium dollars. So now I'm very cautious about putting that pile aside to list.
I know, and I've been trying to do that. I had my husband, he goes out and he does a Tim bundle. That's like one of our little shticks on Tuesday night. And he goes out and he does a bundle. We on Tuesday nights, I sell other people's stuff, and we could talk a little bit about that. We sell other people's stuff, and I do every few minutes, I'll do a bundle. And as people bid, I add more things to the bundle. So for $2, you're getting a whole other shirt if you're bidding it up. And they do really well. So, some days they don't sell. Like, you can tell that you've got just people in there that are only there to sell their stuff and nothing selling, so I don't do the bundles when that's happening, but we put the stuff in, and Tim will sometimes go out to do his Tim bundle and come back with something that I'm like, I didn't want to sell that. I don't want to sell it that way. And so I've lost some things to the Tim bundle situation. I just throw, I mean, part of it is just shtick. Like, I don't know what he's going to come back with. And then when he comes back, I'm like, oh no, Tim, this is for
not that.
The buyers get excited because he's an unknown element and he doesn't know brands or anything. So, they bid up because, it's like, oh my God, he grabbed the wrong thing, so they grab for it. So it usually works out okay, but probably not as well as if I had listed it for $100, so, but still.
But there's an element of them coming back because they're like, oh, last time I got this amazing deal on Tim's bundle. What's Tim going to pull out now?
Exactly. So, so it's kind of fun, but there's just those kind of things we're doing all the time, thinking of ways to get them engaged. We're doing, I do the Shining Star. We feature 20 items from one person as a Shining Star every Tuesday. So like, people can win that. And you know how frustrated they are sitting there trying to get you to put one thing in at a time. So, which I would hate that, and then it doesn't sell. You sit there waiting for an hour and it doesn't sell. So they get 20 things unencumbered into the show, and it's like their show. And then we've been thinking even more about maybe expanding that to an hour and letting people, can pay for my consultation services to get, on the show and use me to help them get on the show, because there's always going to be that glut of waitlisted people.
Well, it's not just the waitlisted people. I've had quite a few people that were shopping from me that started their own shows after a while that now are texting me saying, I can't do this. You guys made it look so easy, but this is not for me. I've had like 3 or 4 people already. My consistent buyers that I talk to, they're like, it's just not for me. They've made it through the process and it's just not what they thought it was going to be.
Well, I'm sure. I know I did it yesterday. When you're sitting there looking at 4 people and nobody's buying anything, you're like, what am I doing?
Right.
What am I doing? And when you, for whatever reason, can't get people into your show, that's a problem. And like my Poshmark courses, they help people with the algorithm do things to improve their listings, improve their shopping experience, improve the palette of their closet. But now, you really do need all of that new information about Posh Shows, to make that a thing. I was in somebody's show the other day and I was like, she sent me a note and she was like, can you send people to my show after you? And I said, you have to get away from that window. There's a window behind her, and the window, and I'm doing it right now that I'm saying, but the window is behind her. And it's everything here is black and dark, and I was like, you have to, then I see her another day and she just has a sheet up. So it must be the only spot she has, but that's not helping, and it's, if someone comes into that show and sees all that darkness, they just move right on. And that's what's, and they don't even realize it. So, this kind of conversation helps with that. What are the basics? What do you have to do to even have a shot at making this work, So, that's why we want to reach out and talk to everybody that's doing it well and doing it right. And really it comes down to, it's you, it's your personality, it's your teenager, it's your, it's all the things. So besides having the right lighting and the right products, it may just be you, and then what we can't really help them is that's the truth of the matter. They can mimic it as much as possible, but if they're not you, I mean, for me, I have 30 years of understanding of this. I had a production background. I had marketing digital background. I mean, I have a lot of legs up on making this work, and it's still hard. So, it's a really unique problem to have, and to be able to rise to the top like you have is a feat of nature that at least I can tell you I understand, that I understand and appreciate.
Well,
It is
thank you.
a hard thing to do. So kudos.
Thank you. And I think you have to be authentic too. A lot of people just try to like replicate or imitate or, be overly excited or whatever. They try to like put on this persona, and buyers sense it. I don't think they like that. They just want you to be you. And if you're entertaining and you have like stuff going on, that's what they want to see. They don't want to see like you being somebody else. They just want to see like, what's going on with your life. They want to see Megan. They want to see Tim's bundle. They want to be engaged in your life. And they sense people being,
You
yeah,
can always tell.
Yeah.
Just have that authentic thing that makes you, that, draws people into your show, and there's nothing anyone else can do about that, except try to replicate as much as possible, or be their own selves. They have to find their niche, their thing that makes them special. And, maybe, it's not having a teenager, it's maybe having, their baby on their lap, or, whatever it is that makes them, I'm just a mom, I'm just trying to get this done just like you, that,
right.
that feeling that they're, we're all in this together is really the thing that makes, Posh Shows work, is, I'm doing this and so are you, and we can do this together. And, and that's sort of been my niche, is that I'm giving them inventory. My stuff is always, this inventory is at such a low price because I don't buy anything that you shouldn't sell. This can go in. I'm always saying, flip it. I'm sending this to you. You could make I could sit on this for 2 months and make $80 to $100. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to flip it right now. You can do that. You can't, you don't have Posh Shows. You sell it for more, you sit on it and you have a great inventory. I don't mind. And that sort of frees them up to buy things that are, that, and feel like they can just resell it. And it's not shameful. They're not buying something for me and making more money. I don't care. So that's sort of my
area too.
It is a touchy area. He's right. And you giving them okay.
Angry that something goes like for not as much as they'd like, and
right,
they're gonna be like, "Oh, you're gonna flip it." I watched a show one time. The guy was like consecutively on each item complaining that all these people are just gonna flip all the items he sold. And
you just got to be happy with the profit that you're making, right? You can't.
Right. Yeah. No, that's it. That's our thing. That's what we do. We provide a service for you. We have to do high volume because we're only selling things for $5, $8, $10 at a time. You have the time and the means to make the listing pretty and to sell it for $100. That's your thing. That's not our thing. And so when you, in a way, you're sort of in concert with your audience. You're saying, I'm giving you this, you do what you can with it, So anyway, yeah, well, I agree. I think that there's just, you have to find your niche. You have to find the thing that makes you special, and being Urka 9 is different than being, Posh Pro Megan. I do something completely different than you do. We have elements that are the same, but I have my little things and you have your little things. And that's that thing that makes us unique, and everybody else has to find that in their own way too. But there are consistent things you do that, having good product, having good lighting, having a good energy, those things we can tell them about and try to help them as best we can. And that's what we're doing here today. So anyway, we've deemed you, Urka 9, a Posh Famous person. You have a lot to offer. Your shows are fun and exciting, and you've got teenager, and no one else has teenager, and we appreciate you for that. Have a wonderful vacation. We appreciate you for being here. I know that, we are all so busy. So just to take the time to help our watchers and our listeners is so nice of you. We appreciate you so much. Have a wonderful vacation. This has been Rags to Resale, Posh Famous edition with Irk and I. We'll talk to you soon, you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful trip.
Thank you.
Thanks, teenager. We'll be listening for you.
Tips, live events, contests, celebrity appearances. Don't miss a moment. Follow Posh Pro Project on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube and check out our e-learning courses for resellers at poshproproject.com.